falling over chairs, flying through doors, even taking a frying pan to the head. These actors are living proof that acting isn't all fun and games. You might think a multi-camera sitcom that takes place almost entirely in either an apartment or a coffee shop is going to be a pretty low-risk job for an actor. Well, tell that to Matt LeBlanc, who managed to dislocate his shoulder while filming Friends. For what it's worth, the injury at least occurred while making one of the best Friends episodes, the one where no one's ready. Joey and Chandler spend much of this episode fighting over a chair. At one point, Joey leaps across the room and lands on the chair before Chandler can get to it. LeBlanc probably thought there was no danger in doing this. In fact, he already pulled it off for 3 takes without incident. But on the 4th attempt, he tripped on the coffee table and fell into the chair. Filming had to be halted so LeBlanc could be rushed to the hospital. The show must go on, however, so LeBlanc simply wore a sling for the next episode. A scene was added at the beginning of the episode, explaining that Joey had been jumping on his bed and fell off, thus explaining his sling. Audiences thought nothing of it because it was an entirely believable incident for Joey to have suffered. The lucky fans who watched Breaking Bad as it aired on AMC could never have predicted the places the show would go. The first few episodes were heavy on tender family moments, and even slapstick comedy. And well, let's just say that Season 5 wasn't exactly heavy on any of that.
I swear to Christ, I will put you under the jail.
At times, however, even the early seasons of Breaking Bad got dark. Tuco Salamanca, for example, was one of the most unhinged and terrifying TV characters that many of us had encountered in years. One of Tuco's scariest moments involves a standoff with Walt and Jesse in Season 2. The scene quickly escalates as Tuco throws Jesse through a screen door, and the collision looks truly nasty. As it turns out, Aaron Paul actually did suffer a concussion after he got tangled up in the doorframe as he crashed through it. Raymond Cruz, who played Tuco, thought Paul was just doing a great job selling the fall and proceeded to manhandle him. Thinking that Paul's cries for Cruz to stop were ad-libbed, Paul eventually blacked out and woke up to a medic shining a flashlight in his eyes. Based on the acclaimed video game series of the same name, the staggeringly popular HBO hit, The Last of Us, pulls very few punches in its unflinching depiction of ordinary people trying to survive in a brutal post-apocalyptic world. It's definitely one of the best video game adaptations of all time, thanks in no small part to the incredible performances of a flawlessly chosen cast. In particular, Bella Ramsey steals practically every scene she's in, bringing Ellie to life so skillfully that it's hard not to assume the character was originally based on them to begin with. While much of the show involves Joel protecting Ellie, he isn't always able to completely keep her out of harm's way. Unfortunately, Ramsey couldn't entirely avoid danger while filming the show either. Ramsey told IGN that not only did they get plenty of bruises during production on Season 1, but there was also a moment in which they were accidentally hit in the eye by a flailing clicker's arm. The result was a black eye, something Ramsey says they were very much proud of. Taking the long-running Archie comics and reimagining them as an edgy teen drama was a risky move. On paper, it may have sounded like a recipe for disaster, yet the CW's Riverdale was a hit with critics and audiences alike. It ran for 7 seasons, and even spawned 2 spin-offs, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and Katie Keene. Part of the appeal was the fact that many of the characters were drastically reinvented for the series, including a much tougher version of Archie, who even ends up joining the army. Actor KJ Apa took that toughness seriously, up to and including throwing a punch so hard that he broke his hand. But don't worry, it wasn't one of his co-stars, or even a stunt performer that was on the receiving end of Appa's fist. Rather, the injury occurred during a scene in which Archie is trying to rescue Cheryl after she falls through some ice into the Sweetwater River. Although a foam mat had been laid down over the top of the ice for Appa to punch so he wouldn't hurt himself, he got a little too method in the moment and punched the mat so hard that he still managed to break his hand. Worse still, due to the cold, Appa didn't actually know his hand was broken until 20 minutes later, when he started to warm back up again. Many cable sitcoms don't have the best track record, with even the most successful tending to only last a handful of seasons. And then there's It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. After debuting on FX in 2005, Always Sunny made history as the longest-running live-action sitcom of all time, cable or otherwise. One of the show's hidden weapons in those early years was the involvement of Danny DeVito, who joined the ensemble in Season 2 and has been a main cast member ever since. It's clearly a project that DeVito enjoys working on, even though it once almost cost him his life. In an appearance on Conan, Charlie Day revealed that DeVito nearly drowned while filming a Season 11 episode of Always Sunny. In a scene in which everyone had to be underwater together, DeVito needed weights to keep himself submerged. When he came up for air, he seemed to stall halfway up, forcing safety divers to intervene. Still, they got the shot they needed, after which DeVito, quite rightly, decided to call it a day.
He went straight home.
Yeah.
It's not often that a spin-off becomes the new de facto main series in a franchise, but that's arguably what has happened with Law & Order Special Victims Unit. This show continued even after Law & Order ended, and although the original has since returned, SVU now has it beat by 2 seasons in terms of length. SVU has also been better at retaining its core cast members than Law & Order ever was. Mariska Hargitay's work on the show has earned her 8 Primetime Emmy nominations and 1 win for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. It also gave her a few serious injuries. Arguably the worst was when she landed too hard after tackling a stunt person in 2008. Resulting in a 50% collapse of her right lung. It's unknown exactly which episode the tackle can be seen in, and it's not the easiest thing to narrow down, as Detective Benson has been in physical altercations numerous times throughout the show's run. Remarkably, Hargitay only thought that the injury was minor at first, figuring that the wind had simply been knocked out of her. It wasn't until she went to the hospital 3 months later, after suffering severe chest pains, that the extent of her injury was revealed. Superhero shows are almost always chock full of brutal fisticuff showdowns. This is especially true for those street-level heroes, who have to mostly rely on their own fighting prowess to save the day, and that includes Oliver Queen of the CW's Arrow, played by Stephen Amell. Queen might have impressive archery skills, but that doesn't mean much when he ends up in close quarters and the punches and kicks start flying. One of those kicks actually ended up connecting directly with Amell's face during the filming of a season 5 fight scene, with the actor nearly breaking his nose in the process. If you believe in karma, you might be interested to know that Amell himself was on the giving end of not 1, but 2 broken noses over the course of the show's run. In both cases, Amell had accidentally injured a stunt performer, although, for what it's worth, he would always apologize to his colleagues by buying them a 6-pack of beer or some whiskey as compensation. Just because the cast of Game of Thrones didn't ever ride on real flying dragons doesn't mean that they weren't risking anything to film those scenes. And Kit Harington knows this better than anyone. In a behind-the-scenes video, Harington revealed that he had once suffered a truly gruesome injury while sitting on a mechanical dragon. As the dragon bucked around, one of Harington's testicles got caught between 2 pieces of the machine. Ever the professional, Harington braved through the pain and finished filming what needed to be filmed.
In my head, I thought this is how it ends. On this buck, swinging me round by my testicles, literally.
One of the reasons that Saturday Night Live is so much fun to watch is that pretty much anything can happen. With the exception of the pre-taped segments, there are no do-overs on the show. Whatever happens, the performers just have to go with it, up to and including sustaining a potentially life-threatening injury. In former SNL cast member Chris Kattan's defense, he didn't initially know how badly he had hurt himself. It all went wrong when he fell backwards in a chair and hit his head on the floor while filming a Golden Girls parody sketch in 2001. None of the cast or crew figured he had sustained a serious injury either, and so it wasn't until weeks later, as the pain began to worsen, that Kattan started to think something had gone wrong. It soon came out that he had come dangerously close to being paralyzed, and he subsequently struggled for years with addiction as a result of the pain. In a 2019 interview, Kattan said that he still deals with the effects of the injury, including an inability to fully open his hands. It won't come as a huge shock that many injuries were sustained during the run of American Gladiators, both among the titular gladiators as well as the contestants. And of course, most of them happened right there on screen for the audience to witness. But there is one particular incident that stands above the rest, since it so shockingly exposed the deficiencies in the show's safety guidelines. This accident happened on the very first day that Darren McBee, aka Malibu, first appeared on the show. During those early episodes, the production was flying by the seat of its pants, and the safety of the performers didn't seem to be too highly prioritized. McBee was competing in an event called Human Cannonball, in which a contestant swings through the air and tries to knock the gladiator off a platform. With only a football blocking pad for protection, the contestant slammed into McBee and sent him flying off the platform to land headfirst on the padding below.
I saw this guy coming, and I took the most excellent hit.
McBee not only sustained a concussion, but needed surgery to realign his forehead as the result of the fall. He did not return to American Gladiators for season 2. John Cleese was the first member of Monty Python to have a successful TV show after Monty Python's Flying Circus. That show was Fawlty Towers, which saw Cleese take his quick wit and manic energy to absurdly brilliant heights as frazzled hotel owner Basil Fawlty. While the series largely acted as a showcase for Cleese's comedy skills, it was still very much an ensemble piece that saw plenty of heavy lifting from his co-stars, including character actor Andrew Sachs as the hotel's waiter, Manuel. Despite the unfortunate fact that Sachs was a Caucasian actor playing a Spaniard who spoke with broken English and an over-the-top accent, he proved to be an incredibly gifted performer. As such, Manuel was often the funniest part of any scene he showed up in. Sachs truly gave his all to the role, so much so in fact that he was seriously injured several times while filming the series. In one example, a prop mix-up led to Cleese hitting Sachs in the head with a metal frying pan rather than the rubber one used during rehearsal. But the most famous on-set disaster saw Sachs suffer severe burns to his arm while filming a scene in which Manuel accidentally starts a fire in the kitchen. It would take several years for the scars to fade. And yes, in case you're wondering, both of those injuries are shown in the final cuts of their respective episodes.